Chapter 53:12. You can't leave without paying a price for laying a hand on one of our people. The next moment, under Tong Yunshu's shocked gaze, Di Beichen's figure suddenly moved. He swept past Tong Yunshu at lightning speed and landed a kick on Xiao Jingliang's body. Thump. A clean kick with an incomparably tyrannical force sent Xiao Jingliang flying, not giving him any face at all. Tong Yunshu, Xiao Sou, and the others never thought that Di Beichen would suddenly make such a move. By the time they had reacted, it was already too late. They could only watch as Xiao Jingliang was beaten to the point of spitting out blood. How dare you? Tong Yunshu rebuked angrily. Her face was flushed red and her eyes were burning with rage. How dare you attack a deacon of the Radiant Sacred Assembly? How should you be punished? However, Di Beichen ignored her. Since you won't take care of him, I'll have to do it myself. He had noticed Xiao Jingliang's dispirited look from the corner of his eye and knew that this fellow would have to stay home and rest for a while. He then turned towards Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. Let's go. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled into a small smile. Di Beichen's kick had been very satisfying. Ling Er, who had been extremely unhappy, felt much better after witnessing this scene. After all, she had not suffered any losses. She felt particularly relieved when she saw the ugly looks on Tong Yunshu's and the others' faces. Stop right there. Tong Yunshu called out to Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. Vice President Tong, is there anything else? You dared to injure a deacon of the Radiant Sacred Assembly. How can you leave just like that? If you don't give an explanation, everyone will be able to step all over the Radiant Sacred Assembly's head. Tong Yunshu roared. First, they had ignored her and then severely injured Xiao Jingliang in front of her. This was a slap to the Radiant Sacred Assembly's face. Aren't you insulting the Holy Light Assembly by letting this kind of trash be a deacon? Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows. Bailey Hongzhuang, don't talk nonsense here. Xiao Sou pointed at her angrily. You attacked a member of my Xiao family and even ignored the vice president of the Holy Light Assembly. How dare you? Men, take them down. During this period of time, many people from both the Xiao clan and the Radiant Sacred Assembly had come. They had completely surrounded this place. Di Beichen suddenly laughed when he saw that the other party was about to gang up on him. It seems that we have to get ready to stretch our muscles. I've been wanting to exercise for a long time, Bai Li Yanche said. I thought that the Holy Light Assembly would be as straightforward as its name. Now it seems like it's a joke. Ling Er mocked. She didn't have a good impression of the Radiant Holy Assembly. Not to mention Ling Er, even the onlookers had the same feeling. Their impression of the Radiant Sacred Assembly was greatly reduced. Previously, they didn't think that the Radiant Sacred Assembly was so sinister. However, now that Xiao Sou had become the Holy Maiden of the Radiant Sacred Assembly, if any light attribute cultivator dared to offend the Xiao clan in the future, they would be done for. Vice President Tong, is this how you usually handle things when I'm not around? A low voice that was mixed with anger sounded out. It carried boundless dignity and caused the atmosphere at the scene to freeze. Seeing the person who had come, the originally arrogant Tong Yunshu's expression changed. President, why are you here? Chapter 53:13. Bailey Hongzhuang also looked at the person who had arrived. As expected, it was the president of the Radiant Sacred Assembly, Lu Hongwei. She had seen Lu Hongwei at the pill refining competition in Water Splendor City, but she had only seen him from afar. She did not know much about his temperament. However, according to Shi Hongqiao, Lu Hongwei was an extremely responsible president. He was just like Tong Yunshu, and he was a fair person who only cared about the Radiant Sacred Assembly. I wonder if the president of the Radiant Sacred Assembly is also a snake in the rat's nest? Bai Li Yanche frowned. He had planned to stretch his muscles, but he did not expect such a person to appear. He did not know which side this person was on. Am I not allowed to come? Lu Hongwei looked at Tong Yunshu indifferently. His gaze was calm, but it gave off a sense of scrutiny. Even though Tong Yunshu was the vice president, she was still very respectful to Lu Hongwei. This was because Lu Hongwei was number one in terms of strength, status, and influence in the Radiant Sacred Assembly. No one could shake him. President, things are not as you see them. You can listen to my explanation. Tong Yunshu quickly organized her words, thinking about how she could smooth things over in her mind. Her actions just now had probably made the president very unhappy. She knew that the president valued the reputation of the Radiant Sacred Assembly the most. Her actions just now had undoubtedly affected the image of the Radiant Sacred Assembly. There's no need. Lu Hongwei raised his hand and interrupted Tong Yunshu. I've seen the whole situation with my own eyes. I'm very disappointed in how you've handled it. Xiao Sou's body trembled. Clearly this included her. This matter was originally very simple. Deacon Xiao should be punished for her mistake, but you only know how to protect her. Is the name of the Radiant Sacred Assembly something you can use to commit outrages? Lu Hongwei's loud voice showed his anger. He had never thought that he would trust Tong Yunshu so much, and that Tong Yunshu would handle things like this when he was not around. Now that she was like this, it could be seen that the situation was not very good when he was not around. Thinking of this, he was simply exasperated at the fact that he had failed to meet his expectations. President, we wouldn't dare. Tong Yunshu hurriedly said. She had never seen the president so angry in the past few years. It seemed that she was really angry this time. Don't dare? I think that's exactly what you did. Lu Hongwei's gaze landed on Xiao Jingliang. Nothing can be accomplished without rules. Since Xiao Jingliang has done something that goes against the image of a deacon of the Sacred Assembly, he naturally cannot continue to stay in the Sacred Assembly. From now on, you're no longer a member of the Sacred Assembly, and you're not allowed to enter the Sacred Assembly in the future. As Lu Hongwei's voice fell, Xiao Jingliang's body trembled and his face turned pale. It wasn't easy for him to reach this step, but in less than 2 days this position was gone just like that. Most importantly, he was not allowed to enter the Holy Assembly in the future. This meant that he had no hope of returning to his position. Furthermore, as a cultivator of the light attribute, not being able to enter the Sacred Assembly meant that he would lose a lot of resources. It would be almost impossible for him to make any progress in his cultivation in the future. Such punishment was something he couldn't endure at all. Chapter 53:14. Hearing the president's decision, Xiao Sou's expression turned extremely ugly. Xiao Jingliang's talent in the light attribute was pretty good, and it was because of this that they had supported him to this position. Who would have thought that because of today's matter, all their previous efforts would be in vain? Xiao Sou looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with resentment. Most importantly, Bailey Hongzhuang had gotten her way, and this was what she couldn't tolerate the most. After settling everything, Lu Hongwei looked at Di Beichen and the others. Young Master Di, are you satisfied with this punishment of mine? Di Beichen cupped his hands. Many thanks to the president. Unlike his disdain for Tong Yunshu, Di Beichen was much more respectful towards Lu Hongwei. It was obvious that the two of them weren't on the same level. Li Hongwei was an elder worthy of their respect. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others also bowed. With Tong Yunshu as a comparison, Lu Hongwei was undoubtedly much more impartial. Xiao Jingliang offended this lady earlier, and I hope you can forgive him. Lu Hongwei had a kind smile on his face. In the future, when our Radiant Sacred Assembly selects talents, we will definitely pay more attention to character. If there are any problems, I welcome everyone to point them out. As Lu Hongwei's voice fell, everyone's opinion changed. President Lu is indeed just and impartial as always. Fortunately, the Radiant Sacred Assembly has him as the leader, otherwise it would have been destroyed by Tong Yunshu and Xiao Sou sooner or later. Isn't that right? With President Lu overseeing things, light attribute cultivators without any background have a place. Otherwise they would really be out of luck. The surrounding discussions weren't soft, and each sentence fell into the ears of Xiao Sou and the others, causing their expressions to turn even uglier. Wasn't this a slap in the face? Previously, when they were doing things, everyone was complaining, but now that the president had stepped forward, everyone's words changed. In contrast, they seemed even more unbearably sinister. Guild leader, they're only here to cause trouble because they have a personal grudge against me. Xiao Sou felt a little indignant. It was still fine when they were in the immortal cloud mystic realm, but now that they were in her territory, if she were to let Bailey Hongzhuang gain the upper hand, wouldn't she be inferior to Bailey Hongzhuang in the future? As the next Holy Maiden of Light, your personal grudges have affected the image of the Sacred Assembly. You should reflect on it. Lu Hongwei didn't give Xiao Sou a chance to refute at all. His plain words left her speechless. Facing such a Lu Hongwei, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others felt a little guilty. In fact, they knew in their hearts that their actions were indeed a little unreasonable. After all, ousting Xiao Jingliang from his position was beneficial to all of them. It was precisely because of this that they admired President Lu's magnanimity even more. With Lu Hongwei's appearance, this matter was completely resolved. Xiao Sou and Tong Yunshu both left with Lu Hongwei. It was likely that they wouldn't be able to avoid some punishment when they returned to the Sacred Assembly. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others didn't continue to stay in the underground market. After experiencing such a commotion, They had already become the focus of attention. There was no way for them to stroll around properly if they stayed, so they left first. Who would have thought that Miss Linger and Sir Yanche are both members of the Bailey family? What a coincidence. Chapter 53:15. Linger and Yanche have always stayed in the clan and rarely come out, so it's not strange that Sir Jiang hasn't seen them before. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. Linger really didn't appear in front of others much. Bai Shi often appeared, but not in his current form. However, if others didn't ask about this, she didn't intend to say much. After all, although there were contract beasts that transformed into human forms, there weren't many of them. It was inevitable that it would cause a commotion. I see. Jiang Wenyan understood. Otherwise, with your looks, anyone who has seen you wouldn't be able to forget you. Bailey Hongzhuang's gaze turned slightly towards Linger and Yanche. Just as Jiang Wenyan said, a demon beast's human form always had a unique charm that was unforgettable. Of course, not all demon beasts could be so devilishly beautiful after transforming. It was said that many beasts would appear particularly boorish after transforming into human form. For example, Yanche and Yanche were probably like this because of their racial advantage. In addition, they were very good-looking in their beast form. Speaking of which, it's quite interesting. I just realized that the people around Brother D all appear in pairs. You and Madam appeared together hand in hand, and so did Sir Wen from before. Now Sir Yanche and Linger are the same. You really make others envious. Jiang Wenyan shook his head and sighed. However, after hearing this, Linger and Bai Li Yanche couldn't help but look at each other in disbelief. I'm a pair with him? Linger pointed at herself, completely unable to accept this. How is that possible? Bai Li Yanche was also speechless. What do you mean? After hearing Bai Li Yanche's words, Linger's eyes flashed with anger. Did this guy think that it was embarrassing to be called a pair with her? Although she felt the same way, what right did Bai Li Yanche have to despise her? Whatever you mean, I mean it, Bai Li Yanche said calmly. This isn't the first time you've done this. Linger glared at Bai Li Yanche fiercely. It was the same when they were in the Bailey family. Bai Li Yanche shrugged his shoulders. Looking at Linger's furious expression, he was also a little confused. He only felt that everything he said was very normal. All right, stop bickering. Aren't you afraid of being laughed at in front of young Lord Jiang? Bailey Hongzhuang hurriedly tried to smooth things over. It was fine if the two of them bickered normally, but it was a little awkward for them to do so in front of others. Hearing this, Linger and Bai Li Yanche finally calmed down. So I misunderstood. Jiang Wenyan smiled warmly. It's all my fault. The two of them are always like this. Brother Jiang, don't mind them. Di Beichen's eyes flashed slightly. He didn't miss Jiang Wenyan's expression. It seemed that Jiang Wenyan was indeed interested in Linger. Otherwise, he wouldn't have said such probing words. Obviously, his previous words were to test the relationship between Linger and Bai Li Yanche. The result made him very happy. I feel that we are really fated. I hope that we can become true friends. Jiang Wenyan straightened his expression and looked seriously at Di Beichen. Brother Jiang, we have been friends for a long time. Di Beichen smiled faintly. From the moment Jiang Wenyan stood on their side, they were already true friends. Chapter 53:16. Looking at this scene, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes also showed a smile. After coming to the upper realm, they had made very few friends. Although their relationship with the Murong family was excellent, that was because Di Xiaofeng and Murong Jing were good friends. They didn't have many friends by themselves, so they were very happy to be friends with Jiang Wenyan. Of course, this was only what Bailey Hongzhuang and the others thought. In fact, many people wanted to make friends with them after seeing their strength and their frankness with their friends. It was just that they didn't have the right opportunity. Jiang Wenyan didn't stay for long. When he found out that Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were planning to go to other places, he took the lead and left. It seems that we can rely on Linger to sell her body to attract allies in the future. This is much more efficient than using conventional methods. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled and teased. Although Jiang Wenyan didn't say much, it was obvious that he was interested in Linger. Even when he said that they wanted to make friends, his gaze quietly fell on Linger. Actually, Yanche isn't bad either. Di Beichen raised his eyebrows. Just now, I heard many women say that they wanted to bear his children. Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but laugh. That's right. When the time comes, we'll see which force's young miss is beneficial to us and let Yanche seduce her. It'll be 100% successful. Sister. Bai Li Yanche looked helplessly at Bailey Hongzhuang. She actually used this kind of thing to tease him. Linger also looked at Bailey Hongzhuang speechlessly. You're dreaming. That's not it. Bailey Hongzhuang winked proudly. Previously we weren't sure about Jiang Wenyan's attitude, but after today's events, we can completely relax. Based on Jiang Wenyan's feelings for Ling, he wouldn't do anything to harm them. Although she had previously felt that Jiang Wenyan wanted to befriend them out of sincerity, with this layer of relationship, this alliance had become even more stable. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Ling was speechless. I think you guys are overthinking it. That's not it, Bai Lianche also said. Jiang Wenyan's performance was very obvious. Luckily, I haven't transformed into a human yet. Xiao Bai could not help but sigh. Otherwise, she would have been used as bait by her master. Leave this kind of mission to me in the future. Xiao Xuanzi's face was full of excitement. I don't understand why Yan Che is dissatisfied with such a good thing. So many beauties want to bear your children. If it were someone else, they would be overjoyed. With that, Xiao Xuanzi sighed again. Unfortunately, I still have some time before I can transform into a human. Seeing Xiao Xuanzi pretending to be sad, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others could not help but be amused. Xiao Xuanzi, that still depends on how you look when the time comes. If you're not good looking, then there's no chance. Xiao He laughed. Look at my master's looks. How can I not be good looking? Xiao Xuanzi puffed out his chest and gestured for everyone to look at Di Beichen. That's not necessarily true. Xiao He exposed him mercilessly. The looks of the master and the contracted beast are not absolutely related. The male master is good looking, but you might not be. Just wait and see. When the time comes, I definitely won't be bad. Xiao Xuanzi was full of confidence in himself. Then from now on, I'll leave this kind of mission to sell one's looks to you, Xiao Bai said solemnly. Chapter 53:17. Speaking of which, I'm a little curious. Why did you all buy purple clothes today? Xiao He looked curiously at Bai Lianche and Ling. No wonder Jiang Wenyan thought that you two were a couple. You really do look alike. Then you'll have to ask Ling. Bai Lianche looked at Ling. I've always been wearing purple clothes. When he first transformed into his human form, Bailey Hongzhuang gave him purple clothes. During this period of time, he had fallen in love with this color. Hearing this, everyone's gaze turned to Ling. Ling had always been wearing Bailey Hongzhuang's clothes, so she had more white clothes. I just happened to see that this dress looked good, so I bought it. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others only smiled and didn't say anything. This was really a coincidence. Sister, why did you guys also happen to come to the underground market? Bai Lianche then went back to the topic. When he came out earlier, he didn't hear that Bailey Hongzhuang was also coming out. Otherwise they could have left together. We originally planned to go to the Inscription Association to take a look, but we happened to pass by the underground market, so we thought of taking a look. These days the most lively place is the underground market. Almost everyone comes to take a look. I didn't expect to meet you guys there. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. If it wasn't for the underground market being so attractive, they wouldn't have met Xiao Se Wu and Xiao Si Wu there, and they wouldn't have had such a harvest. No wonder. Bai Lianche immediately understood. In my opinion, since Xiao Sou is so arrogant, it's fortunate that the position of the Holy Maiden will be yours. Otherwise the Holy Assembly will really be in a mess. Following Bai Lianche's words, Linger also nodded in agreement. Indeed, that vice-chairman is also a disgusting person. Fortunately, Chairman Lu is not bad. We made Xiao Sou suffer today, so I'm sure she hates us to the core. She must be thinking of ways to make us unhappy. Bailey Hongzhuang shrugged her shoulders. Xiao Sou was not a generous person. She still remembered clearly the venomous look in her eyes today. She really hated them to the bone. You dare to touch my wife? Let her try. Di Beichen raised his eyebrows and smiled. Even though the Piercing Wind City is the Xiao family's territory, if she can't find a suitable reason to make a move, it would be useless. Most importantly, she and Jun Lingshuan together can't beat us, Bai Lianche said calmly. If it wasn't for someone who came to save the situation, he would have beaten them up until their parents couldn't recognize them. It wasn't easy for Xiao Sou to support Xiao Jingliang. Now Xiao Jingliang has completely lost all hope. Bailey Hongzhuang turned to look at Di Beichen. Beichen, since Xiao Jingliang has lost his position, do you think Deacon Shi's position will be restored? That would depend on the internal arrangements of the Holy Assembly. I wonder what kind of name the Xiao family used to take away Deacon Shi's position. Di Beichen pondered. Since Chairman Lu is here, perhaps the situation will change. I hope so. I believe in Deacon Shi's ability. The group chatted as they walked slowly to the Inscription Masters Association. The building of the Inscription Masters Association was also very grand. The symbol on top was a complicated inscription pattern, which gave off a mysterious aura. Chapter 53:18. The inscription technique of the upper realm is indeed much stronger than the lower realm. She could tell just by looking at the inscription pattern. When she was in the lower realm, she had also learned about other inscriptionists. However, although they were inscriptionists, their level of inscription was obviously not high enough. My wife has always wanted to study inscription technique. Now that we are here, it's not bad to have a chance to understand it. Di Beichen's lips curled up. His wife was extremely talented in this aspect. Inscription technique was also very useful for cultivators. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. Actually, you can also understand more about array formation. Di Beichen's array formation was learned from He Shinjun. There was no need to mention the strength of the Dark Holy Sun. The array formation that he grasped was also not something that ordinary people could compare with. However, Di Beichen had not come into contact with other array formation masters. If he could understand more, it would be of some help. Hearing this, Di Beichen smiled and said, "That's right. I'll ask around later if there's an array formation master association here." Ever since he understood the power of array formations, he was very interested in array formations. If he could master array formations, it would be of great use in many situations. When the four of them walked into the Inscription Master Association, they found that the spacious hall was already filled with people. Most of the cultivators here wanted to inscribe their weapons. If a weapon had a good inscription pattern, its effect in battle would be greatly increased. It was not easy to increase one's strength. However, one only needed an inscription pattern to increase one's combat strength. This was naturally something that everyone was willing to do. Although the price of drawing an inscription pattern was not cheap, the price to ask a master to help inscribe it was even higher. Even so, there was still an endless stream of people coming to the Inscription Master Association. This Inscription Master Association is really lively. Ling noticed the dense crowd in front of her and couldn't help but sigh. The Inscription Master Association's liveliness is second only to the Alchemist Association. Any place that is helpful for cultivators to increase their strength is very lively. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled as she looked around. Many people were obviously familiar with this place. There were a few windows that were specially used to receive cultivators who wanted to ask for inscriptions. As long as they paid the corresponding price, they would be able to perform inscriptions. However, it seemed to be very difficult to get an inscription from an inscription master. "Elder sister, what are you doing here? If you want to meet an inscription master, I'm afraid it won't be that easy." Bai Yin Che frowned slightly. Chapter 53:19. "Hello, I have a question to ask Master Guan." At this moment, a young man who was not far from Bailey Hongzhuang asked the attendant. His face was filled with anxiety and nervousness. It was obvious that he wanted to see the inscription master as soon as possible. The one who was stopped by the man was the female attendant who was walking slowly. She was already very depressed when she was one step behind. Now that she was stopped by this guy who was asking her questions, she was even more unhappy. "Do you think it's that easy to see Master Guan?" The woman rolled her eyes and pointed to a place not far away. "Look carefully. How many people in the queue want to see Master Guan? Master Guan doesn't meet people easily." "Then can you help me think of a way?" "I can't help you." At this moment, a young man walked over and looked at the person who was talking. "My master is busy studying inscription patterns. He doesn't have time to see people. No matter what urgent matter you have, you can't see my master now." The man who was asking for help was surprised when he saw the young man. "You are Guan Qian, right? That's great. I didn't expect to see you." Guan Qian smiled proudly when he saw that the man knew who he was. "That's right, I am Guan Qian." "Guan Qian, actually I am also an inscription master. However, I encountered a problem when I was learning inscription patterns. I wanted to ask Master Guan for help, but since Master Guan isn't free, I wonder if Guan Qian can give me some advice?" Guan Qian hesitated when he heard that. He also didn't give advice to people casually. Most importantly, his master said that his inscription pattern technique wasn't mature enough and didn't allow him to give advice to people casually. The man saw that Guan Qian didn't speak and thought that he was unwilling. He showed a flattering smile and said, "Guan Qian, you are Master Guan's last disciple. Everyone knows that your inscription pattern technique is high. I hope you can give me some advice. It will be useful for me for the rest of my life." Guan Qian was happy when he heard the man's flattery. He was happy and said, "If you have any questions, just ask." "Young Master Guan, when I draw the explosion inscription pattern, I always fail for some reason. I have tried many times but I always fail in the end. The man's face was filled with dejection and sadness. I hope young Master Guan can give me some pointers. Level 3 explosive inscription? Guanqian asked. That's right, it's a level 3 rune of explosion. Did you mix the inscription fluid unevenly? I've tried many times. I've done every step according to the production method. There shouldn't be any problems. Tell me in detail about the inscription liquid you made. I added 10 grams of green flame rock, 3 grams of limestone powder. The man listed the ingredients one by one. His expectant gaze landed on Guanqian, hoping to get an answer. When Guanqian heard all this he frowned. These materials were indeed good, but he couldn't tell where the problem was. How many explosive inscriptions have you drawn? The explosive inscription itself was very difficult to draw. If there was even the slightest mistake it would not succeed. Chapter 53:20. The man's eyes lit up when he heard this. He nodded and said, "That's right. I was a little impatient when I was drawing it." Guanqian smiled. It's not easy to draw a level 3 explosion inscription. The failure rate is very high. Go back and try again. It's normal to fail. You must keep a calm mind. As an inscription master, how can we be impatient? Young Master Guan is right. Thank you for your advice. I'll go back and try again. The man smiled and cupped his hands. He was extremely grateful for Guanqian's advice. Go. Guanqian waved his hand. His young face was filled with pride. Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but sigh when she heard the conversation between the two. That works too? Sister, is there a problem with what Guanqian said? Baisher was undoubtedly very familiar with Bailey Hongzhuang's character. Just by looking at her expression he could guess that what this guy was saying was complete nonsense. In fact, let alone Bailey Hongzhuang, even Di Beichen and the others thought that Guanqian was talking nonsense. There must be a reason why he couldn't succeed after drawing so many times. Even if his mind wasn't calm enough, it couldn't be the reason that led to so many failures. Guanqian turned his head with a smile and noticed Bailey Hongzhuang and the others' speechless expressions. A trace of displeasure appeared on his face. What are you looking at? Bailey Hongzhuang quietly retracted her gaze. She originally wanted to meet this Master Guan. Since he was called a master he must be very capable. However, after seeing the standard of this last disciple, she gave up the idea. Just this kind of guidance? Forget about it. Young master, how can I help? The female attendant smiled and looked at Di Beichen. This man with such an extraordinary temperament was many times better than the guys in the guild. If she could get his favor she would have a meteoric rise in the future. Di Beichen looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. Wife, you say it? Hearing this, the smile on the woman's face immediately froze. Her stiff expression was very awkward. I would like to ask, how can I see the books in the Inscription Association? Bailey Hongzhuang sized up the surroundings. According to her judgment, the Inscription Association definitely had a lot of books. Originally, she planned to interact with the Inscription Master, but from the lively situation she knew that it would be difficult to meet the Inscription Master if she didn't put in a lot of effort. Since that was the case, she might as well take a look at the guild's library. That way she would be able to gain some understanding. Upon hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, the waitress was stunned. You want to look at our guild's library? Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. Not bad. The female attendant's gaze instantly became strange. There were many people who came to the Inscription Association, but this was the first person to make such a request. Are you a member of our guild? Guanqian couldn't help but speak out. His eyes were filled with ridicule. I don't think you are an inscription master. If you want to look at our guild's library, only an inscription master can do it. Others can forget about it. If you want to learn the inscription technique by looking at the library, I think you should give up. The inscription technique isn't that easy to learn. It's useless even if you read the books. As an inscription master he had a master to teach him, but he still felt that it was very difficult. Chapter 53:21. As long as I become an inscription master, I will be able to read the books here? Bailey Hongzhuang inquired. Up until now she had learned all her inscription techniques in the Chaos Ring. After coming to the upper realm she had not met any other inscription masters. Through reading the books she was able to gain more knowledge and also be clear about her current level. Guanqian saw that Bailey Hongzhuang did not intend to give up and his brows were filled with anger and impatience. He wanted to see what this fellow was trying to do. He did not miss the mocking expression on this fellow's face. It was obvious that this fellow was disdainful of his answer. A mere layman who couldn't even acknowledge a master wanted to learn inscription techniques through reading books. This was simply a fool's dream. Don't look at the few fellows in front of him who looked like they had decent statuses. However, Guanxian had stayed in the Inscription Association for so long and had seen all kinds of people. Just because they looked good on the surface did not mean that their statuses were not ordinary. That's right. As long as you become an inscription master, you will be able to read our association's books. Guanxian raised his eyebrows and looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. Don't tell me you intend to take the inscription test? Yes. Bailey Hongzhuang replied indifferently. Let me tell you. If you are not an inscription master, you will not be able to enter our library. Guanxian circled around Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. His face was filled with pride and disdain. The books in our library are all extremely precious. Wait, what did you just say? Guanxian's gaze froze on Bailey Hongzhuang's face. He had vaguely heard an answer just now. I said I intend to take the inscription test. Bailey Hongzhuang increased the volume of her voice. No one knew if it was to prevent Guanxian from not hearing it clearly or to stop Guanxian from explaining. At this moment, not only Guanxian, the two attendants by the side were also dumbfounded. What kind of joke was this? She wanted to take the inscription test just to read the books in the library? This test was not something that could be passed easily. Unless Bailey Hongzhuang was an inscription master herself. But if she was really an inscription master, how could she not see these books? This didn't make any sense at all. Guanxian was stunned and he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Isn't this woman looking down on the inscription master test too much? One had to know that every year, countless people wanted to become an inscription master, and countless inscription apprentices wanted to pass the examination to become a true inscription master. However, the success rate was extremely low. Now, this fellow wasn't even an inscription apprentice and he wanted to take the inscription master exam. Wasn't this just a fool's dream? It's not that easy to become an inscription master. If you want to try your luck, I think you should just go back. Don't waste our time. Bailey Hongzhuang frowned slightly and felt a little disgusted. The disciple of Master Guan in front of her was really self-righteous. He believed everything without knowing anything. In the next moment, Bailey Hongzhuang turned around and looked at the female attendant on the other side. What are the conditions to take the inscription master examination? The female attendant was slightly stunned. After she came back to her senses, she said, You only need to pay 10,000 spiritual stones to take the inscription master examination. After hearing the number of spiritual stones, Bai Lianche couldn't help but sigh. This is really black-hearted. Participating in an examination actually requires so many spiritual stones. This is to prevent people from making up the numbers and wasting everyone's time. Chapter 53:22. Who did you say was a fake? Di Beichen's gaze turned cold. Previously they couldn't be bothered to argue with Guanxian. However, not only did this fellow not restrain himself, he even started to climb all over them. I'm talking about, Guanxian rolled his eyes. He originally wanted to point out that the person he was talking about was Bailey Hongzhuang. However, he never thought that he would be so shocked by Di Beichen's terrifying gaze that he couldn't bring himself to say the word you. What a terrifying gaze. Guanxian couldn't help but shiver. His sharp gaze was filled with a shocking murderous intent and shock. He felt that he would be destroyed by this handsome man in the next second. Seeing that Guanxian had shut his mouth, Di Beichen then retracted his gaze. Guanxian wasn't very old. He was about 18 years old, so they couldn't be bothered to argue with him. I want to sign up for the inscription master's examination. Bailey Hongzhuang took out a Qingkuan bag and handed it to the female attendant. Here are 10,000 spirit stones. The female attendant took the spirit stones and couldn't help but look at Guanxian. Young Master Guan, our association is very busy today, so we can't carry out the examination. If you want to take the examination, wait 3 days later. It just so happens that there are a few inscription master's apprentices taking the examination at that time. Guanxian's expression was filled with fear. Although he was still very displeased, judging from the fact that Bailey Hongzhuang could casually take out 10,000 spirit stones, she probably had a certain background. His master wasn't around today. His master would come out of his closed-door cultivation in 3 days. When that time comes, he would wait to see this fake woman humiliate herself. However, in front of Di Beichen, he didn't dare to say anything else. After setting the time, Bailey Hongzhuang and the other 3 left first. They would only come back 3 days later to take the examination. Seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang and the others had left, Guanxian stomped his feet. His face was filled with anger. Isn't she just a fellow who can't find a mentor? She's actually so arrogant. When the time comes, I'll show you how powerful our inscription association is. As the disciple of Master Guan, he had always been sought after by everyone. Today that damn guy dared to treat him like this. He must investigate the identity of these guys and turn the tables. The two female attendants were speechless when they saw that Guan Qian only dared to curse after the other party had left. What was he trying to do behind their backs? If he had the ability, he should have said it earlier. I think that Guan Qian is just a sloppy person. His inscription technique isn't good at all, but his temper is quite bad. Bai Li Yanche sneered. That guy actually believed him. We don't know if that guy really believes it or not. Chapter 53-23. Bailey Hongzhuang is really despicable. Xiao Sou could not help but curse out loud. Whenever she thought of Bailey Hongzhuang, she gnashed her teeth in hatred. If it wasn't for her, Master would not have been scolded by the president. I wonder what kind of punishment she would have received. She had been training with Tong Yunshu since she was young. After all these years, she had already treated her master as her closest kin. If Tong Yunshu had not tried to protect her today, she would not have ended up in such a state. Seeing the anxious Xiao Sou, Jun Lingshuan could not help but say, "Don't worry, the vice president will be fine." Although the previous incident had angered the president is not an unforgiving person. I'm sure he was just saying a few words. Xiao Sou pouted her little mouth and looked at Jun Lingshuan with an aggrieved expression. We must get rid of this Bailey Hongzhuang. She's simply a stumbling block on my path to success. The D family's influence is not small. If we want to deal with them, we'll have to think of a long-term plan. Jun Lingshuan sighed. He also wanted to kill Di Beichen to avenge Shi Tao. However, with their current strength it was not enough. Hearing this, Xiao Sou could not help but stomp her feet. The unwillingness on her face became even more intense. Despicable. This is our territory. How can we let them be so arrogant? Don't worry. We still need to find help for this matter. Xiao Sou's eyes lit up. Her originally dejected little face immediately regained its spirit. You mean? We'll find someone to teach them a lesson? With our current strength, if we were to fight with them, it would be hard to say who would have the upper hand. You've seen their battle prowess. It's definitely not simple. However, if we can force Di Beichen to use the skeleton summoning technique here? Without waiting for Jun Lingshuan to finish his words, Xiao Sou understood, and a smug smile bloomed on her face. Right now, everyone is still very repulsed by the power of darkness. If Di Beichen uses this method in front of everyone, he will definitely be ostracized. Even though so much time had passed, the scene of Di Beichen summoning skeletons was still vivid in her mind. That kind of scene, as long as one experienced it, would be unforgettable. Jun Lingshuan nodded slightly. That's why we have to plan this carefully. All right. First of all, we have to figure out where they are now and how many members of the Di family are here, Jun Lingshuan said in a deep voice. After Bailey Hongzhuang and others left, Guan Qian thought about it and still felt unreconciled. As the last disciple of Master Guan, he was despised like this. He had to figure out who these guys were. Therefore Guan Qian directly followed them out. When Xiao Sou arrived at the Drunken Cloud residence, she found that Guan Qian was sneakily looking inside. She couldn't help but walk to Guan Qian's side, patted his back and said, "Guan Qian, what are you doing here?" Being patted by someone, Guan Qian's whole body stiffened. He only felt that his luck couldn't be that bad, right? Not long after he arrived, he was discovered. As soon as he turned his head, Guan Qian found that the one standing next to him was Xiao Sou. He quickly reached out and patted his chest, his whole person was relieved. "Sister Sou, you almost scared me to death," Guan Qian gasped. "You almost scared me to death." Chapter 53-24. I followed a few guys here. Guan Qian lowered his voice with a mysterious look on his face. Xiao Sou frowned. "Why are you following them?" "I met a few strange people in the guild today. They said that they wanted to take the inscription test and they even dared to laugh at me. I was not convinced, so I followed them to take a look." Guan Qian's young face was filled with depression and unwillingness. He felt that there was nothing wrong with his previous guidance, but a layman actually dared to laugh at him. This made him feel very unhappy. "There are actually people who dare to laugh at you?" Xiao Sou was also surprised. Guan Qian was the grandson of Master Guan. Who in the Piercing Wind City didn't know him? Usually, everyone would think of ways to please Guan Qian. As for mocking him, it was something that would never happen. Isn't that so? When Guan Qian saw that Xiao Sou agreed with him, he became even angrier. "I don't think she can find a teacher. That's why she wants to learn about inscription techniques through our guild's books. What a joke. As he spoke, Guanqian looked at Xiao Sou suspiciously. Sister Sou, what are you doing here? I'm also here to confirm if the guy I hate is here. Xiao Sou's gaze sank. After returning, she sent people to inquire about the whereabouts of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. In the end, she found out that they were living in the Drunken Cloud residence. Such a coincidence? Guanqian was a little surprised. Sister Sou, who do you hate? Those people from the D family. Xiao Sou did not hide it. In fact, everyone in the European Union knew about the hostile relationship between them. They only needed to ask a little and they would know. Guanqian listened and nodded. Ah, I know you guys are now opponents. Then do you want to go in now? Guanqian asked. If you go in, can you help me find out who those guys I hate are? It was his own decision to follow them out. He didn't need any attendance here, and he didn't dare to casually order his family members around. If his grandfather found out about this, he would inevitably be scolded. Xiao Sou and Guanqian had known each other for many years, so she naturally understood his situation very well. She immediately nodded and said, Tell me what those guys you hate look like. I'll help you ask around. Speaking of which, those 4 fellows are very good looking. There are 2 men and 2 women, and their clothes are very interesting. One pair of men and women are both wearing white clothes, and the other pair is wearing purple clothes. Don't you think it's very interesting? Guanqian couldn't help but chuckle. It was hard not to notice such a group walking on the street. However, after hearing Guanqian's words, Xiao Sou's gaze became even gloomier. I think I know who you're talking about. She had just met Bailey Hongzhuang and the others in the morning. At that time they were wearing the same clothes. How did you know just by saying that? Guanqian was dumbfounded. Because we hate the same people. Xiao Sou was a little speechless. She didn't expect such a coincidence, but these guys are really quite annoying, especially that Bailey Hongzhuang. Is it that beautiful woman in white? Guanqian asked. Remove the word, beautiful. Xiao Sou frowned. Why did she feel so unhappy when she heard that word? Is it that woman in white? That's right, it's her. Chapter 53-25. Guanqian's eyes were full of disgust. Originally, when he felt Bailey Hongzhuang's indifferent attitude, he felt very angry. He didn't expect that Sister Sei Wu, who he was familiar with, also hated her so much. It could be seen that there was a problem with her. Who was the person you said was going to take the Inscription Master examination? Xiao Sou looked at Guanqian. She didn't hear that Di Beichen and others had the Inscription Master's talent. It must be known that an Inscription Master with superb inscription technique was also an extraordinary existence. However, the difficulty of becoming an Inscription Master was no less than that of an alchemist. In the past, she had also learned inscription technique. However, this aspect was too complicated. She tried to understand it for a while but finally gave up. Instead of learning those obscure inscription patterns, it was better to put all her energy into cultivation. After all, becoming the Holy Maiden of Light was the most important. At that time, the master she learned from was Guanqian's father, Master Guan. It was because of this that the two of them met. It's that Bailey Hongzhuang, Guanqian said. As soon as these words came out, Xiao Sou couldn't help but be startled. Even Jun Lingxuan, who was beside her, revealed an expression of disbelief. What did you say? Bailey Hongzhuang wants to take the Inscription Master examination? Guanqian nodded slightly. Yes, she even paid the examination fee of 10,000 yuan. Xiao Sou rolled her eyes and couldn't help but ridicule. Does Bailey Hongzhuang really think that she is talented and can do anything? Jun Lingxuan also had a face of disbelief. Previously, when Bailey Hongzhuang showed her innate talent as an alchemist and doctor, they were extremely shocked. It had to be said that from this point of view, Bailey Hongzhuang was indeed very powerful. She did what many people couldn't do. However, in addition, Bailey Hongzhuang actually wanted to become an inscription master. This was really a fantasy. Guanqian, tell us about the previous matter in detail. Xiao Sou narrowed her eyes. If she is talking nonsense, we will teach her a lesson. That's great. Seeing that Xiao Sou was willing to help him vent his anger, Guanqian revealed an excited smile on his face. Then he recounted everything that had happened in the Inscription Association. You mean to say that Bailey Hongzhuang wants to take the Inscription Master examination because she wants to see the guild's library? Jun Lingxuan was stunned. Why did he feel that Bailey Hongzhuang's thoughts were so incomprehensible? That's right. Guanqian nodded. Don't you think this idea is hilarious? Was it really that easy to pass the Inscription Master exam? I feel that she is simply blaspheming the inscription technique. In that case, she has already paid the examination fee and is preparing to take the examination in 3 days. Xiao Seiwu's eyes flashed with a trace of light. She didn't know how to make Bailey Hongzhuang lose face, but she didn't expect that the opportunity would appear in front of her so quickly. It seems that even the heavens couldn't stand it anymore. That should be the case. Guan Qian was a little hesitant. She has indeed paid the examination fee. However, I don't know if she is deliberately saying this to save her face. Anyway, the D family is rich and imposing. 10,000 spirit stones is nothing to them. Originally, he was very confident that Bailey Hongzhuang would take the examination. However, ever since he found out that she was the young madam of the D family, his thoughts were shaken. Chapter 53:26. Listening to Guan Qian's words, Xiao Sou chuckled, and her eyes flashed with a sly light. Since he has already paid this fee, we can't let him waste it, right? Guan Qian looked at Xiao Sou in confusion. Sister Sou, what do you mean? Doesn't Bailey Hongzhuang like to pretend to be powerful? Then we will help her publicize this matter, so that everyone can see how much ability this talented woman has. Xiao Sou's dark pupils revealed pride and shrewdness. During this time, Bailey Hongzhuang had been in the limelight. In a short period of time, many people thought that she was a character who could stand shoulder to shoulder with her. She didn't want Bailey Hongzhuang to use her as a stepping stone. If she could make Bailey Hongzhuang lose face in front of so many people, then Bailey Hongzhuang would be dreaming if she wanted to be arrogant in front of her in the future. With Xiao Sou's words, Jun Lingxuan and Guan Qian had already understood her meaning, and a conspiratorial smile suddenly appeared on their faces. It seems that we have to help her publicize it. After the three of them made a plan, they didn't continue to stay outside the Drunken Cloud residence, but chose to go to another place to discuss in detail. Hongzhuang, that young man from the Inscription Association, seems to have followed us all the way here. What is he going to do? Ling reminded Bailey Hongzhuang. As a monster, her perception in this regard was also very strong. Although Guan Qian had been maintaining a certain distance, she still felt it clearly. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang was slightly stunned, and then she couldn't help but shake her head helplessly. This guy is really vengeful. I just sighed and I didn't even say what was going on, but he still held a grudge and followed us all the way here. It was precisely because she didn't want to cause trouble that she didn't say what was wrong, but she didn't expect to be remembered. That kid is used to being pursued by others. He is proud and arrogant. How can he stand being wronged? Bai Li Yanche was very calm. Should I go and catch that kid and ask him what he wants to do? Well, if he wants to follow, then let him follow. Anyway, it's nothing. Bailey Hongzhuang shrugged and took a sip of tea with her red lips. Her delicate face was calm and indifferent. According to her judgment, this kid couldn't make any big waves. He just followed them here because of a moment of anger. He couldn't find trouble with them alone. He would leave after a while. That's true. It's useless for that kid to come here alone. Bailey Yanche chuckled. What a brat. At night, Bailey Hongzhuang went to Shi Hongchao's house again. When the two arrived, they found Shi Hongzhuang and find Shi's Wang Zhuang. Look at him. Young Master D, young madam. Looking at Deacon Shi's happy face, something good must have happened. Di Beichen joked with a smile. Originally, they came here to ask if Deacon Shi had taken back Xiao Jingliang's position after he abdicated. However, now they knew the result just by looking at Deacon Shi's expression. Chapter 53:27. We just happened to bump into them today. It's their bad luck. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled slightly. They had originally planned to take back the position of the Holy Maiden of Light, and then find a way to help Shi Hongchao regain his position. They didn't expect that Xiao Jingliang would be kicked out of the position today. It was really an unexpected gain. I've heard about what happened today. Since it happened, almost everyone in the Sacred Assembly has been talking about it. Now Xiao Jingliang is too ashamed to face everyone. I heard that he has returned to the Xiao family. I'm afraid he won't have a good time after returning. Speaking of which, I really have to thank the two of you for helping me vent my anger. Xiao Jingliang shot himself in the foot today. But with Xiao Sou's temper, I'm afraid it won't be easy for Xiao Jingliang to stay in the Xiao family in the future. After today's incident, Bailey Hongzhuang also understood the extent of Xiao Sou's resentment towards her. Xiao Jingliang made her lose face in front of her. Xiao Sou would definitely not let him go. By the way, did President Liu punish the vice president after returning? Di Beichen slowly said, his right hand rubbing the teacup. His long eyelashes fluttered, blocking the pair of charming eyes. making people unable to see clearly. As soon as President Liu returned, he directly called the vice president into the room. We could vaguely hear some reprimanding, but we don't know how he was punished. I heard that the vice president's face was very ugly when he came out. What about Xiao Shou? President Liu didn't say much about Xiao Shou. After all, this matter can be said to be a matter of the Sacred Assembly, but it can also be said to be a matter of the Xiao family. It's because of this angle that President Liu didn't say much. Shi Hongqiao smiled. After this incident, I think the vice president's influence in the Sacred Assembly will be greatly reduced. Since Deacon Shi has returned to this position, it will be more convenient for you to do other things. Di Beichen said lightly. Of course. Young Master Di, don't worry. There won't be any problems when the time comes. If that's the case, then we won't stay any longer. We should reduce our contact with each other for a while to avoid being discovered by others. Yes. The next day, a piece of news quickly spread throughout the Piercing Wind City. Have you heard? The young mistress of the Di family is going to take the Inscription Master examination. Isn't Bailey Hongzhuang an alchemist and a doctor? Why do you want to take the inscription test now? This news came from the Inscription Association. It's 100% true. This is simply too fierce. It's already amazing for a normal person to be able to learn a single one, but not only did she learn two, but there's also a third. Lin Ming said. For a moment, everyone was amazed by Bailey Hongzhuang's energy and strength. If it were an ordinary person, it would be impossible for them to do so at the same time. As the news spread more and more widely, everyone began to believe that Bailey Hongzhuang was a very powerful inscription master. Of course, there were also many people who were disdainful and thought that it was just a claptrap and not to be taken seriously. Ling Sun, I've sent people out early this morning to spread the news. Now the news has spread throughout the streets of the Piercing Wind City. Chapter 53:28. Jun Lingshuan asked with a faint smile, I believe that they will be very surprised after hearing this news. Now that they are riding a tiger, they have no choice but to take part in the assessment. That's natural. Xiao Shou's face was filled with pride as her eyes twinkled with joy. Not only that, I have also specially prepared a big gift for them. What gift? The Alchemist Guild's president Liu Yuhai has a very good relationship with Master Guan. I heard that President Liu will be meeting Master Guan today, so I specially asked Guan Qian to say a few words in front of them. Bailey Hongzhuang is a deacon of the Alchemist Guild and President Liu values her greatly. I believe that after hearing this news, he will be very happy to see Bailey Hongzhuang take the assessment. Xiao Shou raised her eyebrows. Don't you think that it will be very interesting? I wonder how President Liu will react when he sees his own guild's deacon being humiliated like this? Jun Lingshuan was stunned at first, but after understanding, his face revealed a sinister smile. Then the situation will be very interesting. Bailey Hongzhuang was originally peacefully cultivating when she suddenly heard a knock on the door. Only then did she exit her cultivation state with some doubts in her heart. Who would be looking for us at this time? Could it be Jiang Wenyan? Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Di Beichen. The few of them did not go out. Other than him, I'm afraid that there is no one else. Di Beichen took the lead to open the door. As expected, the moment he opened the door, he saw Jiang Wenyan standing outside with an anxious expression. The two of you are still so calm? What happened? Di Beichen's brows wrinkled slightly, his handsome and unparalleled face filled with a trace of dignity. Now the entire Piercing Wind City is spreading the news about you guys. I heard that Hongzhuang is going to take the Inscription Master assessment? How did you know? Bailey Hongzhuang was surprised. Other than them and the attendant of the Inscription Association, no one else knew about this news. I don't know who leaked the news, but now everyone is talking about this matter. Everyone is saying that you are a first-class genius who is good at all kinds of occupations. Jiang Wenyan walked into the house with a worried look on his face. But I think this is overpraising him. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and Lin Yichen immediately understood. Are the rumors exaggerated? Di Beichen asked in a deep voice. It's very exaggerated, almost praising Hongzhuang as if she is the best in the world. Jiang Wenyan nodded. If she can't pass the inscriptionist examination this time, then I'm afraid. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen looked at each other. They were familiar with this kind of flattery. The higher he raised her now, the worse she would fall when the time came. Could it be that Guan Qian did it? Xiao Hei stomped her feet in anger. That guy is too despicable. We didn't even do anything yesterday. Is there a need for this? Di Beichen shook his head slightly. With that guy's temperament, I'm afraid he won't do something as complicated as overpraising. That's strange. Other than him there is no one else. Xiao Bai knocked on her head, completely unable to understand. However, at this moment, Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two said in unison, Xiao Sou. The three of them looked at each other. Other than him, there was no one else who would do this. Xiao Sou has really put in a lot of effort to deal with me. Chapter 53-29. Now all the streets and alleys are spreading this news. It must be Xiao Sou's special instructions. Under their exaggeration, this news is getting more and more exaggerated. Simply amazing. Jiang Wenyan's jade-like face was full of worry. The news is getting more and more intense. When the inscription master examination begins, it will have spread to the ears of all forces. At that time, with Xiao Sou's temper, I'm afraid that she will try her best to make this examination be carried out in front of everyone. Di Beichen slightly frowned. His pair of black eyes that were brighter than the stars in the dark night revealed a trace of heaviness and complexity. According to the situation that Jiang Wenyan said, he could almost conclude that Xiao Sou would absolutely not just do this. She did this to make Bailey Hongzhuang lose face. Since she wanted to lose face, she naturally had to do it in front of everyone to maximize the effect. Hearing this, Jiang Wenyan's pupils shrank and his worry became even more intense. In this way, won't this inscription master examination become a Hongmen banquet? Forget it. Since Xiao Sou painstakingly prepared for me, if I don't accept her kindness, won't I disappoint her too much? Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes revealed a terrifying self-confidence, and a sharp light flashed with extreme arrogance. Noticing Bailey Hongzhuang's expression, Jiang Wenyan suddenly realized that the beautiful woman in front of him who didn't seem like an ordinary person also had such a domineering side. The original worry seemed to have quietly dissipated a little. The previously difficult to deal with flattery also became easy to break. Do you really want to participate in the inscription master examination? Bailey Hongzhuang nodded lightly. Since I've signed up, I naturally have to participate. Otherwise, wouldn't I have wasted 10,000 spirit stones in vain? The reason for participating was that she didn't want to waste 10,000 spirit stones? Jiang Wenyan's lips twitched. Why did he feel that it was so unbelievable to hear from a 9th-level alchemist that she couldn't waste 10,000 spirit stones? I finally understand. You guys are determined to succeed in this matter. Jiang Wenyan looked at the two people who were calm and collected. He immediately understood that he had been worried for nothing. Di Beichen and Li Du already had a plan in mind. However, he still found it hard to believe that Bailey Hongzhuang was an inscription master. Brother Jiang, thank you so much for coming all the way here just for us. Di Beichen poured a cup of tea and handed it to Jiang Wenyan. Have some tea. Just wait for the show in 2 days. I do need some tea to calm my nerves. Jiang Wenyan drained the tea in one gulp and stared at Bailey Hongzhuang with his clear eyes that were as gentle as the sea. He asked with some confusion and surprise, Miss Bailey, I'm really curious as to how you managed to master so many professional skills. By his side there were many powerful cultivators. But apart from Bailey Hongzhuang, there was no one else who had so many talents gathered in one body. I'm just interested. If you're willing to spend more time, I'm sure you can too. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. Her indifferent appearance seemed to be saying that as long as you're willing, you can even eat a few bowls of rice. Of course, Jiang Wenyan wouldn't believe such words. To master a profession, not only does it require time, it also requires talent. Most importantly, a person's energy is limited. It's impossible to take care of everything. Chapter 53-30. After Xiao Sou had released the news, she ate her snacks and drank her tea proudly. She did not seem to be in a bad mood after being taught a lesson yesterday. It was only when she saw one of her subordinates return that her eyes lit up. She put the snacks back and looked at the person in high spirits. How was it? Did you notice any movements from Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest? Reporting to young miss, your guess is right. Jiang Wenyan rushed to the Drunken Cloud residence early in the morning and did not come out after entering Di Beichen's room. Oh. Xiao Sou's brows slowly rose. They didn't do anything else? No, in this situation, it's impossible for them to turn the situation around. Even if they are in the room trying to think of a way, it's useless. Based on their standards, how can they fight with you? The man's face was full of flattery and he did not hold back when he belittled Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest. However, Xiao Sou was obviously pleased with his words. She was already in a good mood and now she was in an even better mood. She immediately threw a money bag to the man. This is your reward. Continue to keep an eye on them and don't let them have the chance to escape. The man received the money bag in surprise. Just by feeling the weight of the bag, he knew that the spirit stones here were enough for him to cultivate for a while. His eyes were filled with gratitude as he said, "Thank you, young miss, I will definitely keep an eye on them." In the blink of an eye, the day of the inscription master's assessment had arrived. On this day the entire Piercing Wind City was bustling with noise and excitement. Almost all the pedestrians on the bustling streets were discussing this matter. Today is the day of the Inscription Masters Association's assessment. I wonder if Bailey Hongzhuang will really go for the assessment? Of course this news has spread like wildfire. If she doesn't go, wouldn't it be terrible? Furthermore, this is a good opportunity to prove her ability. You're really naive. With one look, you can tell that this news was not spread by Bailey Hongzhuang. It was spread by someone who wanted to mess with her. Among the cultivators there were many people with discerning eyes. They only needed to think for a moment to know who was the initiator of this matter. As long as she was not an idiot, Bailey Hongzhuang would not do such a thing. Bailey Hongzhuang walked on the wide street and listened to the discussions in front of her. Her clear black eyes flashed with a trace of gratification. It seems that everyone is not stupid. You've all seen through the entire matter. Jiang Wenyan looked at the relaxed Bailey Hongzhuang and couldn't help but remind her, after you go there, Xiao Soa might have other plans to deal with you. You have to be mentally prepared. I know. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. Her already exquisite face became even more beautiful under the sunlight. Her fair skin was so delicate that it looked like it could be broken by the wind. No matter what she does, I'll take it. When they arrived at the Inscription Association, they noticed that the entire association was extremely lively. The degree of crowding was even more exaggerated than when they first arrived. It was to the extent that the entrance of the association was already packed to the point that not even a drop of water could trickle through. Obviously, the purpose of everyone's trip was to watch a good show. Bailey Hongzhuang is here. I don't know who shouted in the crowd, but suddenly the entrance of the Inscription Association was blocked, and in the blink of an eye, a path was opened for Bailey Hongzhuang and the others to walk together. Chapter 53-31. Bailey Hongzhuang, you're finally here. Xiao Soa looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with sparkling eyes. She lifted her chin slightly, revealing a sense of ridicule and complacency. Oh, isn't this the Saint of Light? Logically speaking, you should be very busy. Why are you so leisurely all day long? Why can I see you everywhere? Bailey Hongzhuang pretended to be surprised as she looked at Xiao Soa. Her delicate face had an elegant smile as usual. Don't be so sarcastic. Xiao Soa's eyes were cold. She didn't know why, but Bailey Hongzhuang always had the ability to make her angry. I'm just worried about you. That's why I came to see your assessment today. Bailey Hongzhuang chuckled. Her dark eyes were filled with ridicule and playfulness. I didn't expect you to be so concerned about me. Xiao Soa glared at Bailey Hongzhuang. She didn't know what to say. Coincidentally, there was a commotion behind her. She quickly turned her head. In her line of sight, Master Guan of the Inscription Association and the President of the Alchemist Association, Lu Yuhai, walked out together. Looking at the lively scene outside, their eyes flashed with a trace of surprise. I didn't expect that today's Inscription Master assessment would attract so much attention. Guan Jingshan couldn't help but sigh. Even if there were many forces heading to the Piercing Wind City recently, the Inscription Association shouldn't have attracted so much attention. Looking at Guan Jingshan's puzzled expression, Lu Yuhai couldn't help but chuckle. Today, everyone is here for Bailey Hongzhuang. After saying that, Lu Yuhai's gaze also fell on Bailey Hongzhuang. Greetings, President Lu. Bailey Hongzhuang respectfully bowed. Towards this highly respected president, her heart was still filled with deep respect. We haven't seen each other for a long time since we parted in Chishui City. Lu Yuhai smiled as he looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. I didn't know that you had a talent in inscription. Guild leader Lu, you must be joking. I only know a little about it. You were originally a genius alchemist. Being able to grasp a bit of the surface in other aspects is already something that others cannot compare to. Lu Yuhai turned to look at Guan Jingshan and said, Master Guan, let me introduce you. This is the young madam of the D family. She's also an excellent deacon of the Alchemist Guild. She's a rare genius alchemist. Lu Yuhai obviously admired Bailey Hongzhuang very much. The moment he opened his mouth, all he said were good things about her. Greetings, Master Guan. Hearing this introduction, Guan Jingshan looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with a hint of surprise in his eyes. I didn't expect Miss Bailey to be so talented. She is really outstanding. While Guan Jingshan was sizing her up, Bailey Hongzhuang was also sizing her up. Even though this was the first time they had met, there was no doubt that this person was Guan Qin's master. She originally thought that Guan Jingshan was also aware of this scheme. However, looking at the current situation, it seemed that Guan Jingshan was also kept in the dark. Master, there are so many people here today to watch Miss Bailey's inscription test. It wouldn't be good if everyone returned disappointed. In addition, there are many inscription masters participating in the test. Thus, I arranged for today's test to be held in the open. What do you think? Guan Qin spoke up at the right time. His grandfather had always been infatuated with inscription techniques. He didn't care about other things. Chapter 53-32. As Guan Jingshan listened to Guan Qin's proposal, he couldn't help but frown. Usually this assessment was held in the inner sanctum, and outsiders simply couldn't see it. Today's lively scene made him feel that something was wrong. In addition to his understanding of his grandson, he was afraid that there really was something fishy going on. Feeling Guan Jingshan's gaze that seemed to see through everything, Guan Qin couldn't help but lower his head. He secretly cursed in his heart, I shouldn't have revealed any flaws. How come grandfather seems to have seen through everything? As Xiao Sou saw this, she quickly said, the Inscription Association has always been mysterious to everyone. Since everyone wants to see it this time, why don't we do it in the open? I believe that no one will object. The crowd suddenly burst into cheers. As the saying goes, one doesn't mind watching a good show. They didn't want to miss out on such an opportunity. Most importantly, they also wanted to know if Bailey Hongzhuang really had the ability to do this. If she did, then Bailey Hongzhuang's talent was simply too amazing. If she didn't, then how Bailey Hongzhuang would step down today would be an interesting question. No matter from which angle, this was a good show. Guan Jingshan looked at the situation around him. Although he expected that something was wrong, he didn't know what the problem was at the moment. Jun Lingshuan immediately said, Grandmaster, look at these inscription apprentices who are about to take the assessment. They all agree. Guan Jingshan turned to look. Sure enough, the apprentices who were waiting for the assessment all nodded. They didn't seem to have any objections. Only Bailey Hongzhuang frowned. Xiao Sou also noticed Bailey Hongzhuang's awkward expression. Suddenly, the light in her eyes became brighter and brighter. She immediately said, Bailey Hongzhuang, you don't dare to do it, do you? As soon as these words came out, everyone's eyes fell on Bailey Hongzhuang, full of curiosity. What does it have to do with you whether I dare or not? Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows, and the corners of her lips pulled up in a devilish smile. Against her stunning face, there was an indescribable seductive charm. In an instant, her beauty was limitless. Looking at such a Bailey Hongzhuang, the eyes of the men couldn't help but brighten. Such a woman was really a stunner. If it weren't for Di Beichen's unshakable status and the fact that he was always by Bailey Hongzhuang's side, he really couldn't control his heart's desire. Facing such a Bailey Hongzhuang, Xiao Seiwu was also stunned for a moment, and her bright eyes could not help but flash with a trace of jealousy and resentment. It was this damned woman in front of her who had stolen all of her glory. You praises, es right essentes is it to let everyone see your ability? Tis estes. Now that everyone is here, you should be the most satisfied. Why do you have to be so secretive? Xiao Sou snorted disdainfully, her eyes full of ridicule. I praised myself? Bailey Hongzhuang chuckled. Miss Xiao, when you do things you should at least use your brain. In the end, who did this, everyone knows in their hearts. I don't know what you're talking about. Xiao Sou's expression was calm as if she didn't understand at all. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang and Xiao Sou's tit for tat, Guan Jingshan and Lu Yuhai couldn't help but look at each other. In their minds they had some understanding of this matter. Chapter 53-33. Lu Yuhai was a smart person. Back in Chishui City, he already knew that Xiao Sou and Bailey Hongzhuang were not on good terms. It seemed that Xiao Sou had deliberately set up a trap for Bailey Hongzhuang. When he first heard the news, he felt that it was very strange. According to his understanding, Bailey Hongzhuang was not a high-profile person. Even when she revealed her talent in alchemy, she did not have the slightest bit of arrogance. On the contrary, she was very humble. As the president, he had seen all kinds of people. Just from her behavior at that time, he could determine Bailey Hongzhuang's temperament. However, now that he knew that Xiao Sou was behind this, everything could be explained. President Lu, what do you think about this? Guan Jingshan looked at Lu Yuhai. Now that almost everyone was here for this matter, it was not impossible for him to force the test to be carried out internally. However, it would attract a lot of criticism. However, Bailey Hongzhuang was not only the young madam of the D family, she was also a deacon of the Alchemist Guild. Naturally, he had to ask for Lu Yuhai's opinion. This matter was clearly a trap set up by Xiao Sou and Guan Qian. If Bailey Hongzhuang lost face, then Lu Yuhai would naturally lose face as well. Hearing this, Lu Yuhai originally wanted to force the test to be carried out internally. However, when he saw Di Beichen's calm appearance from the corner of his eyes, he changed his mind. Di Beichen was famous for being protective of his wife. If this matter really affected Bailey Hongzhuang, then no matter what, Di Beichen would have already stepped out to stop it. Now that he did not say anything, it was obvious that he had come prepared. When Xiao Sou saw that Guan Jingshan had actually asked Lu Yuhai about it, she could not help but feel anxious. Master Guan, we have already prepared everything. Let's just carry it out like this. Bailey Hongzhuang, if you have the ability, then go ahead with the assessment. If you don't, then just admit it. Xiao Sou narrowed her eyes and tried to goad her. She had to carry out this plan today. She wanted to see how Bailey Hongzhuang would respond. Looking at Xiao Sou's anxious and helpless appearance, Bailey Hongzhuang chuckled, and her smile became more charming and enchanting. Since Miss Xiao wants to see me take the test so much, then I'll fulfill your wish. Following Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Xiao Sou couldn't help but be stunned. She stared at Bailey Hongzhuang, wondering if she had heard wrongly. Bailey Hongzhuang actually agreed? Not to mention Xiao Sou, even Guan Qian was confused. He felt that Bailey Hongzhuang was really strange and did not play by the rules at all. On the contrary, Lu Yuhai revealed a meaningful smile after hearing this answer. His judgment was right, Bailey Hongzhuang had come prepared. Since that's the case, then today's assessment will be carried out in the open. Guan Jingshan breathed a sigh of relief. He did not want to make his good friend unhappy. The original situation was really a little difficult for him, but now that Bailey Hongzhuang had agreed, it was easier for him to make a decision. For a moment, everyone turned to the venue of the assessment, and the discussions and suspicions became more and more intense. I don't know if Bailey Hongzhuang really has this ability. Looking at her expression, it doesn't seem like she doesn't have any real ability. I don't know. Maybe she just doesn't want to lose her momentum in front of Xiao Sou. Chapter 53-34. When the D family arrived at the Piercing Wind City, they realized that there were only a few pedestrians on the streets. It was not as lively as they had expected and everyone was puzzled. It's almost time for the inauguration ceremony of the Holy Maiden of Light. Logically speaking, the entire Piercing Wind City should be packed with people. Why are there so few people here? Dijirai's face was filled with doubt. Usually, when there was a lively event, it would be extremely lively. Today's scene is indeed a little strange. Di Xiaofeng frowned slightly. Even the usual Piercing Wind City is more lively than it is now. Could it be that something has happened that we don't know about? Bailey Yunyan guessed. Just as everyone was walking towards their destination with doubts in their hearts, many passers-by saw them and their eyes were filled with curiosity. Look, the D family is here. Did they know that Bailey Hongzhuang is going to take the Inscription Master assessment today, so they specially rushed over? It should be, otherwise it wouldn't be such a coincidence. Maybe they are worried that Bailey Hongzhuang will be embarrassed, so they specially rushed over to save the day. Di Xiaofeng had already felt that something was amiss, and when he heard Bailey Hongzhuang's name being mentioned, he immediately called out to the man. What did you just say? Say it again. The man who was called out to looked at Di Xiaofeng's gloomy expression and his face turned pale. He quickly waved his hand and said, No, nothing. Cut the crap, I heard you say something about an assessment? Di Xiaofeng stared at the man. Tell me everything. Seeing this, the man did not dare to hide anything and immediately told Di Xiaofeng everything that he knew. After hearing everything, Di Xiaofeng's gloomy expression became even more gloomy. He did not expect that Hongzhuang and the rest had only arrived at the Piercing Wind City for a short while, and this Xiao Sou had already thought of ways to set such a big trap for them. Damn it! Dijirai's cursed. The more I look at this Xiao Sou, the more I find her to be an eyesore. I have never heard of Hongzhuang having a talent in inscription, and this news has spread like wildfire. In the Piercing Wind City, only the Xiao family can achieve this in such a short period of time. Di Xiaofeng could not help but look at Di Yujue. His slightly cold jade face was filled with seriousness and worry. Father, we should also go and take a look. We can't just watch Hongzhuang get tricked by Xiao Sou just like this. Dai Heoan, Come, let's go and take a look. Diyujue made his decision with a wave of his hand. His handsome face that was like jade carried a trace of coldness. Adding on the powerful aura that he unconsciously emitted, it caused the pedestrians on the street to involuntarily retreat when they saw this, as they were afraid of angering him. Mo Yunjue and the other three were also in the group. After hearing this news, their feelings were extremely complicated. I think this Xiao Sou is really too much. She can even think of such a method. Shengguan Yingying secretly spat as her clear eyes were filled with disgust. I really want to see how she will stop. Chapter 53-35. Hearing Xiren's words, Shengguan Yingying was slightly stunned. Previously, she had been thinking that this was Xiao Sou's trap and had forgotten about this. Thinking about it carefully, Hong Zhuang did seem to know the inscription technique? Really? Ao Lingxiao's face was originally filled with indignation, but when he heard Xiren's words, he could not help but be stunned. Hong Zhuang knows the inscription technique? Why didn't I know about this? There are many things that you don't know. Shengguan Yingying said calmly. Hong Zhuang is not someone who likes to show off. There are many things that you wouldn't know if you didn't meet her. Mo Yunjue's magnetic and cold voice rang out. Compared to Xiren's uncertainty, his voice was filled with certainty. Hong Zhuang does know the inscription technique. Hearing Mo Yunjue's words, Xiren and the rest were relieved. They knew how much Mo Yunjue cared about Bailey Hong Zhuang. Since he said so, it proved that this matter was definitely not wrong. Since Hong Zhuang does have the inscription technique talent, then what about today's trap? Shengguan Yingying raised her eyebrows. Why couldn't she understand it all of a sudden? Don't be impatient. We will know when we see it. Mo Yunjue was rather calm. Facing Xiren and the rest's puzzled gazes, he explained, Hong Zhuang and Di Beichen are not people who are easily tricked. Shengguan Yingying and the rest nodded their heads secretly. They absolutely agreed with this point. Whether it was Bailey Hong Zhuang or Di Beichen, they were all extremely intelligent. Jun Lingxuan and Xiao Sou had long been thinking of ways to scheme against them. However, in the end they fell into their hands. After confirming that the inscription assessment would be held in public, Bailey Hong Zhuang and the rest followed the large group to the open-air plaza of the Piercing Wind City. This open-air plaza was specially designed for public competitions or assessments. In the center was a circular platform, and the seats around it were arranged in a stair-like manner, forming a circle that surrounded the central platform. This ensured that everyone sitting on the high platform could clearly see the situation on the high platform. The Piercing Wind City was a humongous city, and this open-air plaza was equally extravagant. At a glance, it wouldn't be a problem to accommodate hundreds of thousands of people. Guan Jingshan and Lu Yuhai led the inscriptionist apprentices who were participating in today's assessment to the most important high platform. The various powers who came to watch the show all sat down around the platform. The scale of this open-air plaza was extremely large, but it could not hold the crowd. Within a short period of time, the entire plaza was filled to the brim. Almost everyone in the Piercing Wind City was attracted to this place. Today, as per everyone's request, the Inscription Association's assessment will be held here. During the assessment, I hope that everyone can remain quiet. Inscription drawing is an extremely meticulous task, and the slightest disturbance could lead to failure. This is also the reason why our association's assessment has always been held internally. Guan Jingshan looked at the many cultivators nearby, and his calm and deep voice was clearly transmitted to everyone's ears with the support of his elemental energy. Due to the unprecedented scale of this assessment, we have specially arranged for many inscriptionists to take part in the assessment today. Chapter 53-36. This was also the decision Guan Jingshan made after understanding the situation today. It was rare to have such a lively scene, and it was not a bad idea to let the inscription masters of the guild experience it together. Of course, there was another reason for him to do this, and that was to take care of Bailey Hong Zhuang. Although he was not sure what happened between Bailey Hong Zhuang and Xiao Sou, he knew that Bailey Hong Zhuang's inscription technique was not up to standard. That was why Xiao Sou planned to humiliate him in front of everyone. Bailey Hong Zhuang agreed to take the assessment in this open field, and it undoubtedly eased his difficulties. As an elder, he naturally could not let the younger generation take care of him. Moreover, this matter was related to his grandson. He gathered so many inscription masters to take the assessment together, and he knew that the failure rate would not be low. In this way, even if Bailey Hong Zhuang failed, she would not be embarrassed. Bailey Hongzhuang was a little surprised after hearing Guan Jingshan's introduction. After noticing Guan Jingshan's kind eyes, she suddenly had some understanding in her heart. Originally, when she saw Guan Qian's vengeful appearance, she thought that Guan Jingshan was also such a person. However, it seemed that she had misunderstood. At least this Master Guan was magnanimous and did not help Guan Qian to deal with her. Instead, he took care of her. Compared to Bailey Hongzhuang's happiness, Xiao Sou could not help but frown. Her elegant face was full of dissatisfaction, but she did not show it. Guan Qian, what's wrong with your grandfather? Why is he helping Bailey Hongzhuang? Xiao Sou turned her head to look at Guan Qian. Her dark eyes were filled with confusion and depression. The reason why they set up such a big scene was to put Bailey Hongzhuang on the spot. Now, Master Guan actually took the initiative to give Bailey Hongzhuang a way out. Ah. Guan Qian was slightly stunned and his expression was a little awkward. He did not dare to look into his grandfather's eyes. He was afraid that he would be reprimanded when he went back today. Grandpa probably knew that we were behind this, so he did this. Guan Qian lowered his head. He knew his grandfather too well. Although Guan Jingshan had always put all his attention on inscription technique, he had always been fair and could not stand this kind of thing. It was precisely because of this that he did not dare to be too presumptuous on weekdays. This time, in fact, he was originally a bit entangled, but it happened that Xiao Seiwu also wanted to deal with Bailey Hongzhuang, so he helped a bit. However, from his grandfather's attitude, he was afraid that, looking at Guan Qian's worried look, Xiao Sou's eyes revealed a trace of disdain. This guy still hadn't really grown up yet. He couldn't even handle her grandfather. What else could he do? Because there were suddenly a lot of inscriptionists coming to take the test, they still needed some time to prepare, so everyone waited patiently. During this process, the Xiao family's patriarch, Xiao Yanlong, and the Jun family's patriarch, Jun Hongqing, both arrived at the open-air plaza. Seeing the appearance of these two people, everyone looked sideways. I didn't expect that even these two patriarchs would come. It seems that today's matter will cause a stir. Although I already knew that both sides were connected by marriage, it seems that their relationship is not ordinary. Chapter 53-37. Seeing the appearance of Xiao Yanlong and Guan Zhenyu, Xiao Sou, who was originally unhappy, had a joyful smile on her face. She had previously informed Xiao Yanlong about this matter, but even she did not expect Xiao Yanlong to come personally. Guan Jingshan and Lu Yuhai were also surprised when they saw this scene. Master Xiao, Master Jun, I did not expect that today's assessment would attract both of you. Xiao Yanlong smiled as he cupped his hands together. It just so happens that Brother Jun has arrived in the Piercing Wind City today. I had intended to bring him around, but I never thought that everyone would be attracted to this place, so I called him along. I hope that Master Guan will not take offense. Indeed, today is a rare occasion, so I wanted to take a look. I hope I did not disturb the two of you. Jun Hongqing smiled and said. However, while they were talking, Jun Hongqing's eyes were still looking around. When he realized that the person he wanted to see was not here, he faintly revealed a trace of disappointment. What are the two of you talking about? Our Inscription Masters Association is honored that you are here. Guan Jingshan smiled and said. Looking at Xiao Yanlong and Guan Zhenyu, who were not far away, a trace of disdain appeared in Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes. This is really a big scene. It's just an Inscription Masters assessment, and even the masters of two families are here. Jun Hongqing must have come here to see if father is here. Di Beichen's face turned cold. He did not miss Jun Hongqing's expression just now, however, he seems to be very disappointed that father is not here. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes widened and she immediately understood. So they are here to show off? All these years, Jun Hongqing has been trying to replace us and cooperate with the Xiao family. Now that he has succeeded with great difficulty, he naturally wants to show off. Di Beichen's eyes turned cold. He increasingly felt that Jun Lingxuan and Jun Hongqing were really father and son. Their personalities were extremely similar. Let them be. Bailey Hongzhuang retracted her gaze. There was a hint of contempt and mockery in her bright eyes. Let's see if they can still laugh after a while. Although she was not sure if she would be able to activate the inheritance after becoming the Saintess of the Light, she had a hunch that she would succeed. Father, you're here. Xiao Sou welcomed him with a face full of smiles. At the same time, Jun Lingxuan was also by her side. Looking at the matching appearance of the two juniors, Xiao Yanlong and Jun Hongqing's eyes revealed a satisfied smile. Xiao Yanlong had previously felt rather depressed about this situation, but now he really felt that it was more pleasing to the eye. Father, since you're here, let's sit down and have a look, Jun Lingshuan said with a smile. Jun Hongqing looked around and nodded. Okay. As the patriarch of an aristocratic family, it was naturally impossible for him to sit in the stands with a group of young cultivators. Guan Jingshan immediately prepared seats for them and they sat together in the examination area. Before I came here, I heard that Bailey Hongzhuang of the D family is a first-rate genius. Her inscription technique is also amazing. I really want to see it. Jun Hongqing looked meaningfully at Bailey Hongzhuang. There was a trace of malice and viciousness in the depths of his eyes. Chapter 53-38. If it wasn't for Bailey Hongzhuang, the Jun family wouldn't have suffered such a crushing defeat in Qishui City. If it wasn't for the small number of cultivators who entered, Shitao wouldn't have fallen. All of these had something to do with Bailey Hongzhuang. Feeling Jun Hongqing's venomous gaze, Bailey Hongzhuang calmly raised her eyes and looked straight into his eyes. The other party's imposing aura immediately disappeared in front of her. The golden sunlight shone on the slender and enchanting figure in white. Her slightly raised face was filled with confidence and brilliance. Her pair of bright eyes were emitting a terrifying brilliance and sharpness. For a moment, everyone present could feel the collision and sparks between Jun Hongqing and Bailey Hongzhuang. However, none of them expected that Bailey Hongzhuang would not be at a disadvantage when facing Jun Hongqing. In fact, she was even more dazzling. Guan Jingshan and Lu Yuhai quietly looked at each other. The situation today was really more complicated than they had expected. Jun Lingshuan noticed Bailey Hongzhuang's disdain towards his father and his face turned ugly. He immediately said, "Recently the entire Piercing Wind City has been talking about Bailey Hongzhuang's inscription technique. It almost overshadowed the limelight of the Holy Maiden. If she didn't have an outstanding inscription talent, how would she dare to steal the limelight with such fanfare?" Hearing this, Xiao Sou's face also revealed a mocking smile. That's right. Some people just like to play to the gallery. They just hope that they are really capable. Di Beichen saw that the other party was picking on Bailey Hongzhuang and a trace of sternness flashed across his sparkling eyes. Is this considered as the young one not being able to do it, so she found the old one to play against her? Di Beichen's magnetic voice that sounded like the sounds of nature came out of his mouth. It was like a clear spring in summer that made people's hearts turn cold. However, the words that came out of his mouth were filled with the smell of gunpowder. It carried a ruthless tit for tat, neither was he willing to back down. If Jun Hongqing's words were said with some concealment, then Di Beichen's words were said with disdain. Everyone could clearly feel the ridicule and contempt in his words. As these words fell, the expressions of Jun Hongqing and the others became extremely ugly. Because none of them had thought that Di Beichen would say such a thing under the watchful eyes of so many people. Puchi. Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but chuckle. Di Beichen's words really hit the nail on the head. She also knew how vicious her husband's tongue was. The originally tense atmosphere became even more awkward with Bailey Hongzhuang's chuckle. It was obvious that she was mocking them. Di Beichen, don't go too far. Usually Di Beichen would diss him. However, now that Di Beichen had directly dissed his own father, how could Jun Lingshuan hold back? He jumped up as if his butt was on fire. You actually have no manners in front of your elders. You really have no manners at all. Xiao Sou was also angry. Elder, you should act like an elder. Di Beichen's expression was indifferent, as if the other party wasn't criticizing him. Since you think of yourself as an elder, you should speak more politely. Do you really think that everyone is an idiot who can't see through such blatant trampling? Chapter 53-39. Even though the anger in his heart was enough to ignite everything, Jun Hongqing had no choice but to pretend to be tolerant. He smiled faintly and said, "It seems that my previous words were misunderstood by Di Gongzi. I was just mentioning the latest news." Ling Sun, don't say any more. But father? Jun Lingshuan frowned. How could he let Di Beichen speak nonsense like this? Forget it. Jun Hongqing emphasized, it's normal for young people to be a little angry, but you still need to have the corresponding strength. Since I dared to say it, I naturally have it. Di Beichen said faintly. He didn't feel that the other party's words were pointing at him. On the contrary, he admitted it so calmly. Looking at Di Beichen's stubborn appearance, Jun Hongqing almost spat out a mouthful of old blood. If he knew that Di Beichen was such a guy, he wouldn't have said such words. Originally, he didn't want to do anything. After all, in this kind of situation he always had to worry about his image. He just mentioned it a little. Who would have thought that it would lead to a series of consequences that made him regret it? The people below the stage naturally saw the situation and immediately sighed in their hearts. I've long heard that Di Beichen is extremely protective of his wife. Today it seems that the rumors are true. Even if the Di family and the Jun family have always been enemies, Di Beichen actually dared to speak to the Jun family head like this. It's really shocking. This is too arrogant. I really envy Bailey Hongzhuang. If a man is willing to treat me like this, it's simply too fortunate. Seeing that the situation was too awkward, Xiao Yanlong couldn't help but speak out. Young people are naturally angry. Young Master Di, there's no need to take this to heart. It's a good thing that your wife is so talented, isn't it? Di Beichen glanced at Xiao Yanlong indifferently. He was too lazy to say anything to the enemy. Looking at Di Beichen's appearance, Xiao Yanlong's heart was also a little angry. He really didn't think that Di Beichen would be such a hothead who didn't care about anything. Even if the two sides were opponents, as a junior at least on the surface he should put on an act. Who would have thought that Di Beichen didn't care about this at all? Junhong Cheng, Xiao Yanlong, are you trying to bully my family's juniors when I'm not here? At this moment, a deep and powerful voice came from outside the square, attracting everyone's attention. Then Di to lead the Di Beichen to the crowd. Di Yujue, who was in the lead, was wearing a black robe. Compared to Di Beichen and the rest who had a jade-like face, Di Yujue was undoubtedly more mature and steady. His eyes were bright like stars and his black hair was like a waterfall. In addition to his innate awe-inspiring might, he became the focus of attention in the blink of an eye. His strong words were filled with dominance and fierceness. Di Yujue's gaze fell on Junhong Cheng and Xiao Yanlong who were on the high platform. Although he was outside earlier, he had heard the words inside. He really didn't think that these two fellows would become more shameless as they got older. Under such circumstances, they actually had the nerve to target their juniors. Hearing these sudden words, Junhong Cheng and Xiao Yanlong were both stunned. Originally they came here because they thought that Di Yujue might have already arrived. They never thought that when they arrived, Di Yujue wasn't here. At this time, Di Yujue actually appeared. Most importantly, the timing of his appearance was so coincidental that it was a little awkward. Chapter 53-40. Following Di Yujue's words, the atmosphere in the open-air square became stifling. Everyone stared at Di Yujue in a daze, their eyes filled with disbelief. Di Beichen's words had already shocked them, and now Di Yujue's words made them gasp. This was a blatant insult. He didn't try to cover it up at all and it completely stunned everyone. For a moment, everyone was certain that Di Beichen was Di Yujue's son. Like father, like son. His words were so domineering, not giving the other party any face. At this moment, Di Yujue did not care about this at all. His son and daughter-in-law had finally returned to the family with great difficulty. Usually he did not have enough time to cherish them. Now that he was not around, these two guys actually held such a hongmen banquet to target them. How could he take this lying down? Junhong Cheng and Xiao Yanlong's faces were darker than the bottom of a pot. Di Beichen's words earlier were enough to make them angry, but at least they could cover it up. However, Di Yujue's words made them lose face. Di Yujue, don't you dare slander us. Jun Hongqing stood up abruptly. His face was flushed red and it was easy to see the anger on his face. Whether it's slander or not, everyone knows in their hearts. Di Yujue was too lazy to pay attention to him. Jun Hongqing originally wanted to properly argue with Di Yujue, but who would have thought that this fellow would coldly say such a thing, making him unable to respond at all. This kind of feeling of not being able to use one's strength was truly uncomfortable. Most importantly, the thoughts of everyone present seemed to have been led astray by Di Yujue's words. He had only casually mentioned it, okay? He had not said anything yet, but Di Beichen had already begun to counterattack. It was one thing for him to endure it, but now even Di Yujue was doing the same thing. Was he trying to anger him to death? How did he bully Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang? Guan Jingshan saw that the atmosphere was getting tenser and tenser, so he quickly stood out to smooth things over. Di family head, welcome. The inscription test is about to begin. Why don't you sit down and rest first? Thank you, Master Guan. Di Yujue looked at Guan Jingshan with a warm smile on his face. That apologetic and reasonable look was like a completely different person from his previous tit-for-tat attitude. When Xiren and the others looked at each other. In their eyes, Di Yujue had always been a kind and amiable elder. However, today's events had made them realize just how strong Di Yujue was. And this side of him made them admire this uncle even more. I finally know why Di Baichen has always been so domineering. It's completely hereditary. Shangguan Yingying's eyes flashed with excitement. This was simply too mighty and domineering. Needless to say, the number of people who admired Di Yujue was no less than Di Baichen. This kind of man was simply too charming. Ao Lingxiao also nodded. Uncle is indeed domineering. Look at the Jun family's faces. Why do I feel so happy? I think so too, ha. After Di Yujue sat down on the high platform, Di Xiaofeng and the others walked to Bailey Hongzhuang's side. Their aura and foundation were instantly revealed. Chapter 53-41. Baichen, what's going on? Di Xiaofeng couldn't wait to ask after sitting down. He was just a few days late. He couldn't understand how Hongzhuang got involved with the Inscription Association and even let Xiao Sou and the others use her. Feeling everyone's concerned gaze, Di Baichen also briefly explained the ins and outs of this matter. So it's like this. It seems that Xiao Sou and the others are really taking advantage of this opportunity. Di Xiaofeng furrowed his brows. But now that things have come to this, what do you plan to do next? Hongzhuang, do you really know how to inscribe patterns? Dai Haoan revealed a worried expression. Not only him but all the cultivators of the Di family looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with worry. This result was too important. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. Don't worry. Hongzhuang, this assessment isn't a joke. Today's big battle is clearly aimed at you. If you fail the assessment, the Jun family and the Xiao family will definitely not let go of this opportunity to ridicule us. Di Xiaofeng's expression was serious. Now that things had come to this, it wasn't just Bailey Hongzhuang's problem anymore. It was related to the entire Di family. Recently, Xiao Sou had been in the limelight and they were already at a disadvantage. If this matter overlapped, then they really wouldn't be able to raise their heads for a while. I won't let them have this opportunity. Bailey Hongzhuang's gaze quietly fell on the black figure on the high platform. Her jade-like black phoenix eyes were filled with respect and love. Previously, Di Yujue's protectiveness warmed her heart. She was very fortunate to have such a father. Even if he directly fell out with the other party in front of everyone, Di Yujue didn't hesitate at all. Although all of this didn't match his usual image, it was precisely this kind of performance that vividly displayed his love for them. He was an elder that she respected and loved. She would definitely not let him lose in front of his opponent. Ever since she had transmigrated, she had suffered a lot of mockery and sarcasm. Thus, she cherished the love and care that came from the bottom of her heart. The Inscription Master examination begins now. After all the preparations were completed, Guan Jingshan did not delay any longer. He sat beside the three family heads. Even though he was at the edge, he could still feel the sparks from the collision. If he wasn't careful, a single spark could start a prairie fire. Therefore it was better for him to hide. The first round of the examination is the Grade 1 Inscription Master examination. All inscription apprentices, please step onto the high platform. As Guan Jingshan's voice fell, everyone's eyes lit up. Even though the previous show had stunned them, this was the real highlight of the show. Bailey Hongzhuang also slowly appeared on the stage under everyone's attentive gazes as the group of inscription apprentices walked up to the stage. The enchanting and slender white figure was like the moon surrounded by stars. She was still a unique existence among the inscription apprentices. She was always so dazzling and eye-catching. The first round of the examination is to draw the Grade 1 clear water inscription. In front of you, the materials needed for the inscription have been prepared. As long as you successfully draw the inscription within the stipulated time, you will pass. Guan Jingshan concisely and comprehensively explained the conditions and requirements of the competition. His loud voice allowed everyone to hear him clearly. Now the examination begins. Dong. Chapter 53-42. On the high platform, hundreds of inscription masters were gathered together. In front of each of them were materials and instruments. All of these things were prepared by the Inscription Association. If it was before, Bailey Hongzhuang might be worried that someone would tamper with the materials. However, after knowing Guan Jingshan's character, she was completely at ease. After all, Guan Qian's expression in front of Guan Jingshan was like a mouse that saw a cat. It was impossible for him to tamper with the materials in front of Guan Jingshan. Level 1 Clear Water Inscription. This was the most basic inscription pattern. The effect of the clear water inscription was very simple. When it was superimposed on the weapon, it would allow the cultivator to be more focused. When fighting they would be calmer and would not be affected by other things. Although the effect was not great, it was very useful in a battle or even a life-and-death situation. In the Grade 1 Inscription Master examination, the clear water inscription was often used as a topic. Inscription patterns were different from alchemy. Every high-level inscription pattern was superimposed from the basic inscription patterns. If one could not even understand the basic inscription patterns, then it would be impossible to become a high-level inscription master. It was because of this that becoming a high-level inscription master required more time and effort than becoming a high-level alchemist. They had to master more inscription patterns. Only then would they have the possibility to improve. With the command, all of the inscription master apprentices started to move at the first moment. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the various materials in front of her. She started to weigh, grind and create the inscription liquid in an orderly manner. Inscription was a meticulous and long process. The entire process needed to be extra careful and there could not be any mistakes. When creating the inscription liquid, if there was one more or one less gram of material, then the inscription would not be successful. The inscription liquid could be said to be the most important. Diyu Jue sat down beside Xiao Yanlong. The two of them were good friends in the past, but at this moment, they had cold faces and did not pay attention to each other. From the day they shed all pretense of cordiality, all of their previous friendship had turned into nothingness. All that was left was cold hostility. Guan Jingshan and Lu Yuhai felt the stiff atmosphere between the three of them. The two of them could not help but sigh. This kind of heavy atmosphere was really depressing. Diyu Jue, I haven't seen you for a while. I see that your strength has not increased by much, but your temper has become much worse. Junhong Cheng's face was cold. Just now, Diyu Jue had cursed him in front of everyone. Although Guan Jingshan had smoothed things over, the more he thought about it, the angrier he became. As the head of the Jun family, he was humiliated in front of so many people. How could he take this lying down? Of course I wouldn't treat others like this, but for someone like you, do I need to be polite? Diyu Jue raised his eyebrows slightly, his cold and handsome face full of disdain. In the past, he would have some scruples when facing Jun Hongqing, but now that he knew that Jun Hongqing was involved in Bei Chen's disappearance, he couldn't even be bothered to pretend to be amiable on the surface. Sooner or later he would personally take off this guy's head. Jun Hongqing heard this and a trace of sharpness appeared in his eyes. In his mind he was thinking, could it be that Diyu Jue had found out that they were the ones who did it? However, according to the news that came out, Di Kaiyuan did not say this news at that time. Chapter 53-43. That's true. Jun Hongqing suddenly chuckled, everything that you were so proud of back then has now fallen into my hands. You can be arrogant all you want, but you've finally succeeded after so many years. Diyu Jue said indifferently. Are you feeling unbalanced? Jun Hongqing looked at Diyu Jue playfully. Back then, Diyu Jue had threatened that he would never succeed and he still remembered it clearly. The Jun family had indeed never succeeded in so many years, but in the hands of Jun Hongqing, they had finally succeeded. Thinking of this, Jun Hongqing's original anger dissipated a little. After all, he was the one who had succeeded. I just didn't want it anymore, so I gave it to you out of charity. Diyu Jue's face was calm. You know the whole story, so there's no need to be complacent because it wasn't your work in the first place. As soon as these words came out, Jun Hongqing's eyes narrowed again, but he threatened, I don't think so, it's just your precious son who ruined your plan. If not for that, why would you give up such a great opportunity? As far as I know, the power of your family's inheritance is getting weaker and weaker. Diyu Jue coldly glanced at Jun Hongqing, then retracted his gaze. You don't need to worry about that. We've known each other for so many years, I'm just concerned about you. You want to get information from me? Diyu Jue sneered. I advise you to give up on this idea. Besides, even if our family's power is really weakening, you haven't been able to bring us down for so many years, so don't you feel depressed? I'm too lazy to bicker with you, everyone knows the situation of your family. Jun Hongqing didn't take Diyu Jue's words to heart. The three families had been in contact for so many years, so he already knew the situation of the Di family. In fact, the relationship between the Jun family and the Di family was also very good hundreds of years ago. The heads of the two families were best friends, so both sides understood each other's situation quite well. However, because the Di family had always been suppressing the Jun family, over time this relationship changed. Giving up Xiao Sou for a woman from a lower realm, only you can do that, it's really stupid. Even though he had picked up a big bargain, Jun Hongqing couldn't help but ridicule Diyu Jue. He was sure that Diu Jue was also extremely depressed on this point. The impenetrable defense that they had built for so many years was suddenly destroyed, and the reason for this was not a big deal. From the perspective of the D clan, how could they not feel heartache? Xiao Yanlong, who was standing to the side, listened to the discussion between the two, and his already cold face turned even uglier. No matter how one looked at it, their marriage was rejected by the D family. This made them lose face. Haven't you seen how powerful my daughter-in-law is? Diu Jue didn't care. If it wasn't for that, you wouldn't have lost so badly in the pill refining competition. As soon as he finished speaking, Diu Jue turned his head away, too lazy to pay attention to Jun Hongcheng. This guy had only come here today to hold his head high in front of him, but he didn't intend to give Jun Hongcheng this opportunity. No matter how proud Jun Hongcheng was, at least in front of Diu Jue, it was impossible for him to take advantage of him. Jun Hongcheng was rendered speechless by Diu Jue's words. After so many years, this guy's words were still infuriating. Chapter 53-44. Bailey Hongzhuang carefully ground the materials into powder, and then separately put them into different containers. She was not in a hurry, and the whole process was pleasing to the eye. Obviously, this process was not beautiful, but when everyone saw Bailey Hongzhuang, they had a beautiful feeling. Compared to the other people's fluster, everything she did was really like moving clouds and flowing water, and it made people's eyes light up. After Xiao Souwu noticed this scene, her face that was originally waiting to watch a good show suddenly stiffened a bit, and her slightly frowned brows revealed doubt and shock. She did not believe that Bailey Hongzhuang really knew the inscription pattern technique, but now Bailey Hongzhuang's performance was impeccable, and everything was impeccable as if she was familiar with it. Because all the inscriptionists were preparing to draw the first-level Clearwater inscription, so everyone's steps were almost the same, so from Bailey Hongzhuang's preparation, it was easy to see that she really knew the preparation process of the first-level Clearwater inscription. How was this possible? Xiao Souwu felt that it was unbelievable. When did Bailey Hongzhuang come into contact with the inscription pattern technique? After Jun Lingshuan noticed this point, his eyebrows suddenly jumped, and his low voice revealed a trace of worry and dignified. So this Bailey Hongzhuang really knows the inscription pattern technique, right? This is impossible. Xiao Souwu subconsciously said, and turned to stare at Jun Lingshuan, and her burning eyes eagerly wanted to get a confirmation. She can't be good at so many professions at the same time, am I right? Feeling Xiao Souwu's anxiety and panic, Jun Lingshuan pulled her hand and said, "So don't worry, there are so many people here, you can't lose your sense of propriety." Hearing this, Xiao Souwu's tense body relaxed. At least she could not let others see the clues. "Now we are just preparing the inscription liquid, we have not started the inscription pattern yet." Bailey Hongzhuang also came prepared today, and in addition, most of the questions of the first-level inscription master examination are Clearwater inscription, so it is not strange that she knows the process of making the inscription liquid. However, if you want to draw the inscription successfully, it is not so easy. Jun Lingshuan's expression was extremely calm. Since Bailey Hongzhuang dared to come here today, she must have made some preparations, otherwise even he would not believe it. Learning how to make the inscription liquid, although it was difficult, it could be done as long as one was focused enough, in addition to a woman's nature. However, to learn how to draw the inscription pattern in a short time, it was impossible. It was not easy to become an inscription master. A lot of people Clearwater Hongzhan inscription pattern, but to learn Hongzhuang's talent. Even inscription patterns, S inscription pattern therefore hers is. Xiao Souwu was originally nervous to the extreme, but when she heard Jun Lingshuan's words, she was relieved. "Indeed, I was too nervous. Relax, the examination has just begun." Jun Lingshuan comforted her. After Bailey Hongzhuang grinded all the materials, she put them into the furnace, controlled the temperature, and began to boil the inscription liquid. Although this production of the inscription liquid was not complicated, but it required 100% concentration. If there was a slight difference in the temperature, it would cause the inscription liquid to fail. Chapter 53-45. Although Di Xiaofeng and the others received confirmation from Bailey Hongzhuang, their hearts were still drumming. Although they didn't understand the inscription technique, everyone knew that it wasn't easy to draw inscriptions. If it wasn't so, it wouldn't be so difficult for them to obtain inscriptions. However, after seeing Bailey Hongzhuang's orderly performance on the stage, everyone relaxed a little. I didn't think that Hong Zhuang would really know the inscription technique. Now we can rest assured. Di Xiaofeng quietly let out a sigh of relief. Although the competition wasn't over, from Bailey Hongzhuang's performance, it could be seen that she was very familiar with the process. She definitely wasn't new to the inscription technique. Di's eyes and the others' eyes were filled with amazement. Who would have thought that Bailey Hongzhuang had other hidden talents besides the talent that she displayed before coming out? Bei Qin, isn't your wife a little too powerful? Di's eyes was ashamed. At that time he actually doubted Bailey Hongzhuang's ability. Now it seemed that Bailey Hongzhuang was too lazy to be serious with him. I feel that in terms of ability, no one can be compared to the young madam. It's already very difficult for us to raise our cultivation. Not only did the young madam's cultivation not fall behind, she also mastered alchemy and medical skills. Now she even dabbled in the inscription technique. If I didn't see it with my own eyes, I wouldn't dare to believe it. This person's words were undoubtedly the thoughts of many people. The cultivators in the group all nodded. The situation was really too amazing. Seeing that the inscription liquid in the furnace had reached the state that she wanted, Bailey Hongzhuang adjusted the furnace flame to the minimum to maintain the temperature. Then she picked up the inscription pen. The inscription paper was already prepared. After dipping it in the inscription liquid, she began to draw the level 1 Clearwater inscription. Among the many inscription apprentices, Bailey Hongzhuang's speed was undoubtedly the fastest. Only a few inscription apprentices were able to keep up with her speed. Most of the inscription masters were still making the inscription liquid. As soon as an expert made a move, one would know whether or not he was an expert. Guan Jingshan looked at Bailey Hongzhuang's skillful movements and a trace of admiration appeared in his eyes. He was sure that Bailey Hongzhuang had put a lot of effort into this inscription technique. Although everyone clearly remembered the steps, Bailey Hongzhuang clearly knew everything. Moreover, after many practice sessions, she knew how to make the inscription fluid in the shortest time possible. She also knew how to preserve the inscription fluid. In fact, when Bailey Hongzhuang arranged the materials on the table, he already understood. These materials were placed randomly. No one cared about the order, but in order to make it convenient for Bailey Hongzhuang to take them, she placed them in the most convenient way. He also had this habit. Looks like this Miss Bailey is indeed quite accomplished in inscription technique, Guan Jingshan said with a smile. Listening to Guan Jingshan's praise, Lu Yuhai's eyes slightly changed. He was a little surprised. Bailey Hongzhuang hasn't completed the inscription and you already know? Guan Jingshan smiled and nodded. I've been an inscription master for so many years. I still have this bit of eyesight. Chapter 53-46. At this moment, Lu Yuhai was completely certain that his previous judgment was not wrong. Bailey Hongzhuang came here today because she had a card up her sleeve. Although Xiao Sou had set a trap for her, she was going to beat her at her own game. You said earlier that she was a deacon of your guild? Guan Jingshan revealed a curious expression. Although Lu Yuhai had mentioned this matter before, he did not take it to heart. Now that he had noticed Bailey Hongzhuang's performance, his interest was piqued. Such a talented young person was really rare. Lu Yuhai nodded slightly, his expression revealing a trace of pride and admiration. Don't look down on her young age. She is already a 9th grade alchemist. Previously, during the alchemy competition in Chishui City, she shocked all of us. In addition, I heard that her medical skills are also extremely outstanding. I also did not expect her to dabble in inscription technique. After hearing all this, Guan Jingshan's gaze towards Bailey Hongzhuang changed. Then this Miss Bailey is really a genius among geniuses. The Di family is really full of talents. Lu Yuhai smiled faintly as he looked towards Di Yujue. Although the Xiao family and the Jun family had formed an alliance, in his opinion, the Di family's development was not bad. The most important thing was that a young 9th grade alchemist like Bailey Hongzhuang had limitless possibilities to become a 10th grade alchemist in the future. The appeal of a 10th grade alchemist was extremely terrifying. This was also one of the reasons why he had tried to rope in Bailey Hongzhuang early on. President Lu is too kind. Di Yujue's handsome face revealed a smile. Although his words were very modest, everyone could see that he was very proud of his daughter-in-law from his expression. Compared to Di Yujue's pride, Junhong Cheng and Xiao Yanlong could not help but look at each other, their hearts beating like drums. Wasn't it said that Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't be a real inscription master? Junhong Cheng frowned. It was because he was sure of this that he decided to come here to take a look. If Bailey Hongzhuang was truly proficient in inscription techniques, Then wouldn't they be giving Du Jue a chance to mock them? Xiao Yanlong's expression was also ugly. Let's wait and see for now. We can't be sure yet. Do you know anything about Master Guan? Will his judgment be accurate? Jun Hongqing asked. Master Guan is an extremely famous master in the Piercing Wind City's Inscription Master Association. He is extremely knowledgeable about inscription techniques, and I'm afraid he wouldn't make a wrong judgment. Although Xiao Yanlong was unwilling to believe this, he still understood Guan Jingshan's strength very well. Hearing this, Jun Hongqing's heart sank. It seemed that Jun Lingxuan and Xiao Sou had made a mistake on this point. Originally, he was full of confidence that Bailey Hongzhuang and the others would make a fool of themselves. But now they had given Bailey Hongzhuang a chance to become famous. Just when everyone was guessing, Bailey Hongzhuang was drawing inscription patterns without any distracting thoughts. Actually, ever since she came to the upper realm, she had spent less time and energy on inscription techniques than before. However, she would still study it whenever she had time. These few days she had already guessed that Xiao Sou would set a trap for her, so she had specially practiced. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.